Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Friday news dump. The weather sucks in both locations, it sounds like. Rain here, rain there. But hopefully there's going to be some good weather for the eclipse that's coming up soon. And also I'm going to talk about government gangs running the EU or something. I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and go into our headlines here. Today on Before Coffee. Menace to society. Criminal gangs in Europe are infiltrating the legal world, Europol says.
And we talk about the best places to watch the solar eclipse on Monday.
Chinese lenders key as Thames water owner seeks time to pay debts.
And there was a $30 million heist in Los Angeles. And we talk about Apple, who is going to start building butler robots.
Kurt Cobain's overlooked social activism, 30 years since his death.
Those stories and more, which is National Read a Roadmap Day. April 5th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Oh, it is Friday, and we're going to talk about criminal gangs. Yes, everyone loves talking about criminal gangs just for the weekend when you're probably going outside and doing stuff. But according to AP News, criminal networks in the European Union are penetrating legal businesses across the 27-nation bloc and rely heavily on corruption to develop their activities. That's the bleak picture emerging from a report published today by the EU Crime Agency, April 5th. Europol has identified 821 particularly threatening criminal networks with more than 25,000 members in the bloc. That's a large portion of criminal gangs. According to the agency, 86% of those networks are able to infiltrate the legal economy to hide their activities and launder their criminal profits. And here I am not doing crimes. It sucks to follow the law. Europol cited the example of a gang leader identified as an Italian businessman of Argentinian origin residing in Marbella, Spain. The individual specialized in drug trafficking and money laundering and manages several companies, including one that imports bananas from Ecuador to the EU. He also owns sports centers in Marbella, commercial centers in Granada, and multiple bars and restaurants, it said. Yeah, watch out, you might be working for a criminal gang member if you're working at a cafe in Spain. An Albanian accomplice based in Ecuador takes care of the import of cocaine from Colombia to Ecuador and the subsequent distribution in the EU. Ecuadorian fruit companies are used as front for these criminal activities, the report said. That's it. Ban all the fruit! We must stop cocaine from entering our borders. No more fruit! Europol also cites families from Italy's Ndrangheta organized crime syndicate, one of the most powerful, extensive, and wealthy drug trafficking groups. The profits from drug and arms trafficking, as well as tax defrauding, are invested throughout Europe in real estate, supermarkets, hotels, and other commercial activities, it said. Oh no, my local Spar is actually owned by an Italian criminal gang. Oh God. Allegedly. Another characteristic of this network is the borderless nature of their structure, with 112 nationalities represented among their members, the report said. However, looking at the locations of their core activities, the vast majority maintain a strong geographical focus and do not extend their core activities too broadly, Europol said. As for the activities, drug trafficking and corruption are the main concern for EU officials. Drugs are bad, mostly. A record amounts of cocaine are being seized in Europe, and drug-related violent crime is becoming increasingly visible in many EU countries, such as Belgium and France. Drug trafficking is standing out as the key activity, the report said. Half of the most threatening criminal networks are involved in drug trafficking, either as standalone activity or as part of a portfolio. Hello, would you like to check out my criminal portfolio? Here I did some drug trafficking. Here I got into a bar fight, and here I stabbed somebody in an alley because it didn't pay me. Criminal portfolio. That's so funny to me. I would like to work for your gang. Where's your resume? In addition, more than 70% of networks engage in corruption to facilitate criminal activity or obstruct law enforcement or judicial proceedings. 68% of networks are violent and intimidation, use violence and intimidation as an inherent feature of their modus operandi, the report said. That makes sense. That's gangs for you. I mean, if the shoe fits. They use violence and intimidation? No way.
Right.
Anyone watch The Godfather recently, or what's the other?
Well, they could be like the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
The surprise, fear, and the fanatical devotion to the Pope.
For sure. In Belgium, with Antwerp the main gateway for Latin American cocaine cartels into the continent, gang violence has been rife in the port city for years. Really? I have friends who live in Antwerp, and they've never talked about gang crime, but okay. I guess it exists somewhere. Somebody's somewhere. I guess not in the neighborhood I was visiting. With drug use on the rise across the whole country, federal authorities say trafficking is rapidly penetrating society. Organized crime is one of the biggest threats today, threatening society with corruption and extreme violence, said the European Commissioner for Home Affairs, Ylva Johansson. Europol said the data will be shared with law enforcement agencies in the EU member countries, which should help better target criminals. Here's an idea. I know this is a crazy idea. Maybe it's because they're illegal that there's crime. I know, radical position here, legalizing all drugs. You can't have drug cartels and trafficking if you just say, oh, you want to do cocaine? Go visit your local cocaine dispensary, and there you go. If you legalize it, I'm sure the only reason people do this stuff, okay? This is my opinion. The only reason people traffic drugs is because you make a lot of money out of it. So if you take all that capital and put it in an actual industry, then it'll be over there, and then you can regulate it and monitor it way better than, this cocaine, I have 20 pounds of cocaine and it's very illegal, so I better smuggle it through my banana company so that I can sell it to everyone in Antwerp, I guess, who's getting high off cocaine.
Exactly.
That's support systems. Yep. Easy. Socialism is the solution. There you go. Socialize drugs.
Well,
onto your story, I guess.
Stigma of illegal drugs.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my thing.
Yep.
I've said this for a year. What's the difference between a heroin addict and a person with diabetes? Really, they're just missing a chemical from their brain. That's all. The only thing, there's nothing different about it. But we demonize one of them, and the rest of them were like, "Ooh, you poor diabetic." Anyway,
yeah, imagine if insulin was illegal. Smuggling insulin.
It almost is in the States.
Yeah, to be fair. 1,000 for
drug companies.
1 ampule, basically.
So
that's it. My story is done.
Oh, all right then. So we're gonna talk about the solar eclipse. This is a story from AP News. Or I could do the other one here. Let's see what else we got. I'll do the AP one. That one's got too many voices in it. All right, total solar eclipse. From AP News, Aditi Ramakrishnan. Some who hope to witness Monday's total solar eclipse may see the sun obscured by clouds instead of the moon. There's still plenty of time for forecasts to change, but meteorologists predict that eclipse day storms could blanket parts of the path, which stretches from Mexico to Texas and through Maine and parts of Canada. If clouds don't get in the way, viewers in the path wearing eclipse glasses will see the moon begin to slowly cover the sun until it's completely blocked, a period of darkness called totality, during which temperatures drop and the sun's corona will be visible. Clouds are expected in much of the eclipse's path Monday, thanks to the storms that are moving across the central U.S. National Weather Service meteorologist Mark Chenard says that the northeast U.S. currently has the best chance of clear skies, along with parts of Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois. Canada, too, may have only light cloud cover that won't significantly impact the view. Higher, thinner clouds should allow eclipse goers to glimpse the sun, while lower, thicker clouds could obscure the spectacle entirely. Parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Texas are questionable. Northeast Texas, Chenard says, could kind of go either way at this point. Mexico may also have a low to mid-level cloud cover. Tushari Jayasekara, a physics professor at Southern Illinois University, saw the 2017 eclipse from Carbondale, Illinois, where it was partially hidden by clouds. From her vantage point at the university's Saluki Stadium, the spectacle disappeared right as the final bit of sun was extinguished by the moon. The crowd fell silent. It was dark, but we were not able to see the sun. The clouds parted again during totality, allowing those in Carbondale to catch a glimpse for the full effect. How accurate is the eclipse weather forecast? The uncertainty is pretty high, Chenard said. The storms moving across the country will make it difficult for meteorologists to predict exactly where and when clouds will arrive. Weather conditions in the northeast U.S. have looked promising so far, but the timing and speed of Monday's storms may influence what cloud cover looks like for the rest of the country. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, Weather Prediction Center will update the eclipse forecast daily until Monday. Eclipse viewers can still watch the total solar eclipse online. NASA will stream telescope views of the sun on NASA TV starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Associated Press. Views of the sun, Associated Press. Journalists will also bring live coverage of the eclipse across the path, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with views from Mazatlan, Mexico, and other locations. Like, you know, we used to go off the air at 10. That would be right at the right time, right? So I'll probably stay up and go outside and go blind. Burn little holes in my retinas.
Hey.
There you go. And I'll just walk around with those little halos for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Outside my retinas. Yay, me. I'm blind. No, I'm not doing that. I'm more likely to sleep through the whole thing. The Exploratorium Museum, date and time, and SLOOH will also broadcast. SLOOH, SLOOH, which are apparently our cable channels, will also broadcast Eclipse Day viewers. And what are the places? We don't necessarily. Let's list the places. Texas. This is from NPR. It's got a list of the places. The path of totality crosses the Lone Star State, with some areas expected a possible flux of visitors in the hundreds of thousands that catch prime viewing on member stations. Well, let's skip that part. Arkansas, the eclipse will be cutting through the state, putting Little Rock in the path of totality. Missouri, the southeastern corner of the state, will be in the path of totality, crossing at towns like Whitewater and St. Genevieve. Head to St. Louis Public Radio for local coverage and resources, it says here. That's what I'm leaving out. Illinois, Carbondale seems to have won the eclipse lottery, being in the path of totality both in 2017 and for this year's eclipse. Well, way to go, Carbondale. What'd they do? Pay their bills or something? They paid their bills to the sun. That's what they did. Indiana, a huge portion of the state will be within the totality, giving sites across Indiana, including Bloomington, Indianapolis, prime viewing of the eclipse. Ohio, the Buckeye State, is getting bisected by this year's totality, plunging a number of states' most populous areas into darkness a few minutes on Monday. Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Columbus is just south of totality, and Cincinnati, totality miss, just barely miss. Pennsylvania, only the northwesternmost corner of the state will catch totalities, views from the lakeside and Erie being particularly well positioned for a stunning viewing experience. New York, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and Plattsburgh will fall into the totality of Monday. If you're planning to travel to the region, the best results here go to Buffalo, Syracuse, and so forth. Vermont, the Green Mountain State, will see totality across its most populous region, including Burlington and Montpelier, as well as the Northeast Kingdom and Canadian border. Well, Vermont's not really that big. Neither is New Hampshire. The northernmost region of Granite State will be the path of totality, providing prime viewing for the Coos County. Maine, the last state in a path to totality U.S., much of northern Maine will be positioned for prime viewing. The rural region is preparing for influx of visitors, and safety officials encourage visitors locals like to be prepared. Okay, there's your states. It doesn't cover Canada or Mexico because this is NBR. It's not a Canadian or a Mexican station. But back to you. There's your eclipse news, your updates, places you got to go. It seems like it's going over a lot of population centers.
Yep. Unless you can find a highway in the middle of nowhere to watch it.
Yeah, just why not, right?
Yeah.
Just sit out in a field. I mean, the sun isn't going anywhere.
the sun's not going anywhere.
It hasn't changed its plans.
Well, good luck everyone in the U.S. for watching the eclipse if you can. I saw a map of the Airbnbs being all that whole arc basically being completely overbooked. That whole arc of the eclipse. Yeah,
totally. Charging $500 for a one-bedroom.
Yeah.
That you got to share with the family.
That you have to clean afterward.
And the administrative fee is $8,000.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's an administrative fee. There's a water disposal fee.
You're gonna look at the eclipse for 10 seconds, and then you're gonna trash the place. So you need to pay me.
That's right. As soon as it gets dark, you're gonna run off everything, all my belongings, everything, the sink, everything.
Everything. The big eclipse heist. All right. I think it was last week or the week before we were talking about Thames water and how there may or may not be polluting all the water in the entire southern England region because they don't have the right infrastructure to take up all the extra water that happens from the rain that famously happens in the UK. It rains all the time. And now there's some more revelations appearing over their money debts their debts that they have to pay, including to China. This is from Alex Lawson on The Guardian. The Dutch bank ING and the two Chinese state-owned lenders could play a crucial role in deciding the fate of the beleaguered Thames water has emerged. The banks are expected to agree to an extension on a £109 million loan to the parent company of the Britain's biggest water supplier, which is due to be repaid at the end of this month. The group of the lenders to Kemble Water Finance include ING, Allied Irish Banks, AIB, and the Chinese state-owned Bank of China, and Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. So two Chinese banks, they lent money to their parent company of Kemble Water Finance, and now they got to pay it back. The Financial Times and the Sky News reported. Last week, Thames shareholders refused to stump up £500 million that had been expected by the end of March, some of which was earmarked to pay the Kemble loan. The announcement raised the prospect of Thames, which has 16 million customers, being temporarily nationalized if it slips into a government-handled administration. Rishi Sunak appears reluctant to pursue the route, although a government project team is examining contingency plans for Thames' collapse. So there is a possibility that if they don't get nationalized, everyone in their monopoly area will not have a water company. People will be working at the water company going, who's paying me? I'm going home. I guess I don't have a job now. My company collapsed. Thames has said the industry regulator Ofwat is being too stringent, making the company uninvestable. You made yourself uninvestable by letting thousands of sewer water go into the river, and then a boat race was canceled. Sorry, it wasn't canceled. They just gave you a huge warning of E. coli breakout that do not touch the water. Do not touch the water. Pretty sure that made you uninvestable. It wants to secure significant bill increases, lower environmental fines, and the ability to pay dividends up to Kemble to service its debts. Kemble said on Thursday it could not repay the loan. Sources said that the parent company was likely to secure and amend and extend agreement, allowing it to repay the loan at a later date. If Kemble defaults, the lenders could become shareholders of Thames Water. No! 2 Chinese banks and a Dutch bank might own all the water in the southern London area, or the southern England area. Probably, I don't know, probably won't matter. They're not running the company, they just own all the shares in the company. So they probably want it to work out so they can get their money back. They probably want the company to not default. The Thames is ultimately owned by a group of shareholders led by the Canadian pension fund OMERS, including the UK University Pension Schemes USS, the investor Hermes, the China Investment Corporation, and a subsidiary of Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund. Basically, a lot of people who aren't British own this water company. China's role in the UK infrastructure has been under the spotlight since telecoms groups were forced to strip out Hawaii equipment from the UK network, and Chinese backers of the Sizewell C nuclear power project were eased out amid security fears. Thames Water Chief Executive Chris Weston is due to meet union leaders on Thursday amid concerns over the future of Britain's biggest water company. Yeah, if China owns their water company, that might poison all of them and kill them. I don't know. I guess that's the security risk of having shares in a company, is they can suddenly, I guess, control the company as well. Representatives from GMB, Unision, and Unite unions will meet at the company's headquarters, Clearwater Court in Reading, this afternoon on April 5th. Ahead of the meeting, GMB National Officer Gary Carter said he would demand there are no cuts to workforce numbers or terms and conditions. He said, any cost-cutting measures being considered by Thames will only be a sticking plaster and will not address the root cause of the company's problems, a lack of investment by shareholders stretching back decades. Sticking plaster is another way of saying putting a band-aid on it. Fitch Ratings, a influential debt Fitch Ratings, not Ratings. He's ratting out on everyone. Fitch Ratings, an influential debt rating agency, said on Thursday it had downgraded Kemble's debt. Fitch wrote that even if the lenders do agree to extend the parent company's debts, it probably would still constitute a default. What happens after that would depend on the terms of the debt and what security the lenders demanded in exchange for the money. The rating agency said, we believe that a downgrade to restricted default has become highly likely. Even assuming that lenders will agree to amend and extend the £190 million loan due on the 30th April 2024, this agreement would probably constitute a distressed debt exchange under our criteria. The Guardian revealed this week that anger over water companies repeatedly dumping sewage had led to widespread abuse of frontline workers in the industry, with the GMB reporting that 1 in 3 UK water employees surveyed had been verbally abused. Thames Water, ING, AIB, and Kemble declined to comment. Bank of China and ICBC were contacted for a comment but have yet to reply. So there's the huge drama in the water, I guess. There's E. coli in the water, and I don't understand why you're yelling at water company people, but I guess you can't yell at the CEO, you have to yell at somebody. And it's always the lower level workers who are getting yelled at. Hey dude, I'm just checking the water meter. Well, you need to stop charging me £30 a month for sewage water. I don't charge anybody. I don't even see that money, okay? I'm just a water worker. Please don't abuse your local water workers. They're not doing anything. They're not the ones who are pressing the dump the sewage button. As far as I know, there is no button to dump the sewage. It's just an overflow of sewage.
In your water.
They don't have enough tanks to hold the sewage, so it overflows into the water. They're not specifically dumping it in, okay? So that's my story on the big water drama, I guess.
I'm guessing Europe has their own QAnon idiots. Just invent scenarios and try to remedy the situation without even knowing the cause. But, yeah.
I mean, here in the Netherlands, water infrastructure is very serious. Okay, the king himself considers it very serious. So we don't have a lot of water problems here because it's very important here that we don't flood the entire half of the country. So.
aquatic. There's some aquatic people there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about the bank heist.
It's bank
It's not even a
heist
bank
time.
heist. It's a heist. It's not even a bank. It's not even a bank. This is from NPR.org, and it's actually from the Associated Press. So we're just going to give them credit. Richard Vogel of the AP. Thieves got away with $30 million in cash from a money storage facility in Los Angeles by breaking into the building on Easter Sunday and cracking the safe. Now detectives are seeking to unravel the brazen cash heist, reportedly one of the largest on record in Los Angeles. I would imagine. It's one of the largest. $30 million. Yeah. Police Commander Layne Morales told Los Angeles Times, which broke the news of the crime, that the thieves were able to breach the building as well as the safe where the money was stored. The operators of the business did not discover the massive theft until they opened the vault. Media reports identified the facility as the location of Garda World, a global cash management and security company in Sylmar. The Canada-based company, which also operates fleets of armored cars, did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Associated Press. LAPD officer David Cuellar, a department spokesperson, confirmed that the officers received a call for service at 4:30 a.m. Sunday at a business on the street where Garda World's Sylmar location is. Several news crews were filming outside the facility Thursday morning in an industrial part of San Fernando Valley neighborhood, which is 20 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. Aerial footage from KABC TV showed a large cutout of the side of a building that appeared to be boarded up by a piece of plywood. The LAPD and FBI on Thursday would only say they were jointly investigating the theft to determine the person or group responsible. The agency sought tips from the public, but they did not confirm how much was stolen or give other details, such as the name of the company. The Times reported that the break-in was among the largest cash burglaries in city history and surpassed that of any armored cars heist in Los Angeles. Nearly 2 years ago, as much as $100 million in jewels and other valuables were stolen from a Brinks rig at Southern California's truck stop. The thieves haven't been caught. Hey, it might be the same people. Jim McGuffey, a armored car expert and security consultant, called the Sylmar theft a shock. Any such facility should have 2 alarm systems and a seismic motion detector on the safe, he said, as well as additional motion sensors throughout the building. Sounds like an inside job. For that kind of money, you just don't walk in and walk out with it. A facility should be protected from the top to the bottom and the sides. Garda World has a good reputation in the industry, McGuffey said, but every cash management company has isolated incidents like this that just make no sense, but it happens to the best. Sounds like an inside job. I'll keep saying that. Also, little tech news here. This is from PopSci, or PopSci.com. PopSci, POPSCI.com. Mark DeGuerin. Apple's next big thing could be a robot butler. A robot butler. All right. Apple's vision for the future could involve an autonomous robot butler. That's according to a new Bloomberg report, which claims that the iPhone maker is relocating resources from its now defunct car projects and shifting them towards an at-home mobile robot. Though still in early stages of research, the possible autonomous robot highlights Apple's re-sparked interest in AI-enabled technology. The proposed robot, Bloomberg says, is intended for home use and could follow its users around. Apple engineers are reportedly considered the AI models to help the robot navigate through rooms. Presumably, that means it would also need cameras and other onboard sensors to see the world around it. Well, yeah, we got cameras everywhere already. What's the big deal? Sources speaking with Bloomberg say Apple engineers are interested in a fully autonomous robot can take care of everyday chores like cleaning up and washing dishes. The feasibility of that actually happening in the near term, however, remains technically challenging. Apple is reportedly interested in having a robot function as a kind of mobile video conferencing tool. There's still far more questions than answers about the supposed Apple's bot. It's unclear, for example, whether it'll roll around on wheels like Apple's Astro home robot or will follow a rising trend of bipedal robots that are shaped more like humans. It is also unclear exactly how it would complete its task, when it will ship, and how much it would cost. It's entirely possible the robot, like many early-stage product ideas may never see the light of day. Other unrealized Apple ideas left in the dustbin of history include a air-power wireless charging mat, an early tablet-like prototype supposedly capable of sending and receiving faxes. Oh, faxes are... This technology is still big.
Yeah.
Without more details, one can only speculate how Apple Bot may one day be put to use. Could it follow the footsteps of past robots, capable of assembling a salad? Or maybe, oh wow, assembling a salad. Throw a bunch of crap in a bowl. And that's not exactly assembly. Or could it give us users relaxing a relaxing massage? Oh, that'd be nice. Or simply open a carton of eggs. Ooh, a carton of eggs. Those are real complicated. As past robots have done. Other assistance robots are also being developed to guide people with vision loss or help people with dementia find lost objects. It's unclear if Apple intends to enter those spaces. Apple did not immediately respond to pop-size requests or comment. News of the alleged Apple robot comes just 2 months after the company officially ended its electric vehicle ambitions. The car project, known publicly as Titan, dated back to at least 2014, but was plagued by leadership shakeups and repeated delays. Many of the roughly 2,000 Apple employees working on the car were reportedly folded into the company's other AI-related projects. Some of the insights and technology developed for the car, Bloomberg notes, could end up making its way into robots if it's in fact ever released. The supposed robot project further signals Apple's interest in tapping into AI products. Apple has faced criticism recent months for looking like a generative AI laggard compared to top tech competitors like Google and Microsoft. To that end, the company is now reportedly in active negotiations with Google to bring its Gemini AI model to future iPhones. An AI-enabled robot, if successful, presents Apple with a unique opportunity to lean further into AI doing what they do best, seamlessly integrating the hardware and software. At-home robots aren't entirely new. iRobot, the company behind the popular Roomba autonomous vacuum cleaner, claims it has sold more than 40 million of devices worldwide. Amazon is also pursuing its own more advanced robot, primarily used for home monitoring. These robots, however, are far less sophisticated than what could be around the corner. Robotics firms like Figure are already taking advanced language models, integrating them into bipedal humanoid machines capable of performing tasks and holding a conversation. Figure recently partnered with BMW to bring bots to Southern California manufacturing facility where it will move sheet metal and performing other tasks. Amazon's reportedly testing humanoid robots in some of its warehouses. The Apple robot, even if it materializes, will likely follow the trend of integrating large language models into advanced robotics in order to effectively communicate with its owner. Whether or not customers will actually welcome such a device into their homes remains to be seen. 61% of adults surveyed in 2021 by the Brookings Institution, a public policy think tank, said they were uncomfortable with robots. More than a third of adults polled by 37% of adults polled by Pew Research, and we know how painful it is to get polled, said they were more concerned than excited regarding the prospect of AI used in daily life. There's your story in your Friday news dump. What a scary future. Of course, they didn't even touch on the big market for sex bots, which is probably
or drug trafficking bots. Don't forget that. What? Drug trafficking bots.
A drug trafficking bot. I will
Giant
put this
AI
in my
gangs
rectum.
Of drug trafficking bots in the EU. That's our combo news of fear today.
That doesn't sound scary for some reason. I don't know why.
AI drug trafficking bots? I guess not.
Hey, bitch, you owe me a fitty.
Well, we're going to be used as batteries in the future anyways, right? Okay.
There's your story. Back to you.
I like the heist story more. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Didn't like the bots.
They haven't caught the heist yet, at least. In our culture news. It is 30 years since the death of Kurt Cobain. Yes, that's right. He died the same year I was born, so I never got to know the guy. Not that I would have ever met him, but I heard he was actually a pretty cool guy. And according to this article on Euronews Culture, he was a pretty active guy in social activism. Kurt Cobain died 30 years ago today, and on the anniversary of his death, Euronews Culture's David Morquand dwells on an often overlooked aspect of Nirvana's generation-spanning legacy: social activism and the importance of staying true to oneself. Yeah, he was actually a huge feminist, if I remember correctly, as well. It was this is from David. David was 9 years old when he learned of Kurt Cobain's death. I was probably also 9 years old when I learned of his death, but it was 9 years ago. Maybe even 10. I don't remember the first time I heard a Nirvana song, but that was probably when my dad basically said, "Oh, by the way, he's dead." Or something like that. This guy is dead.
Okay.
He's not
That's
alive.
the way I said that.
By the way, this guy's dead. At the time, all David knew about Cobain was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," like most people, being played on repeat on MTV, and the striking image of a naked baby swimming for $1 on the Nevermind poster taped to his neighbor's bedroom wall. He always looked up to his neighbors, siblings who are respectively 3 and 5 years older than him, an age gap which was a huge deal for younger people, with little to no cool factor to speak of. Those neighbors were his cool factor, the gatekeepers to know-how that he lacked. Both brothers frequently took him under their wing, taking him out, helping them pick out what to wear to all those important school discos, teaching him how to inhale with his first cigarette, and introducing him to bands and music genres that weren't being played in his house. It was the eldest brother who had the ideal teenage boy's grotto, a room David will never forget. It was shelved with countless CDs, cassettes, and 18 rated VHS tapes, remember those, that he wasn't old enough to watch. It felt like a haven for the indie punk cred, plastered with wonky overlapping gig posters, scantily clad rock chips flipping the bird at the photographer, and images of Kurt Cobain. His neighbor was in tears when the news broke. A pubescent David didn't quite get it. It wasn't just stunning to see him cry, unsure where to place himself. In the end, the three of them stayed in their room listening to the entirety of Nevermind on CD, followed by In Utero on the cassette tape. Looking back, it was probably the best way of honoring Kurt's memory. In the years that followed, David would go on to measure what his death meant to so many, as well as grasp the circumstances of Kurt Cobain's passing, something a 9-year-old with no real knowledge of drug addiction or depression could have done. David began to understand why Seattle radio stations had declared Kurt's death as the day the music died, slowly grasping the impact Nirvana's second album, Nevermind, had on an American generation emerging from the 80s and that era's constant cultural shows of Reaganite capitalism and American exceptionalism brainwashing. David attempted to make sense of the fandom. Fandom wasn't even a word back then, I don't think, but with one specific image of a woman who had carved the letters Kurt into her arm, also chiseled in his mind. He started to appreciate the emotional weight of the numerous images of fan vigils, realizing that these candlelit events happened for every generation, like John Lennon or Elvis Presley before him. Unfortunately, it happens. I wish it didn't happen. That wasn't like a generational occurrence. An artist has died. Take out your candles, everyone. It's time. Years later, when living in Berlin, David too would attend a similar vigil, this time for the death of David Bowie, and images of Kurt didn't seem so far. David went on to listen to the albums repeatedly, with a particular fondness for the MTV Unplugged in New York, even though they played none of their songs, which is your famous complaint on the Nirvana Unplugged. Like, they played 0 Nirvana songs, they just played a bunch of covers. He also read extracts from Kurt's diary, lingering on his handwritten suicide note that was scrutinized over and over again. There came a time when David would even analyze it line by line, as if to pick up a clue on somehow gain a better understanding as to what had happened. He too wondered whether those final lines were subsequently added by Courtney Love, who was rumored to have her husband killed, why? It's no point. Just jealous. People are just jealous that he got married to her, and I wanted to be Courtney Love. I wanted to be married to Kurt Cobain. She must have killed him. Not that David never gave much credence to the conspiracy theories surrounding Kurt's death. Sometimes people just kill themselves. And that's it. Despite falling into the 27 Club rabbit hole and appreciating Nick Bromfield's documentary Kurt and Courtney, which delved into Kurt's untimely death and the dark accusation that love may have played a sinister role in his passing, for David, the conspiracies surrounding Kurt's suicide were just an expression of pain and grief, with countless trying to make sense of how such a talented but tortured young man could take his life like that. Instead of accepting the unfathomable, people have the tendency to lash out. His death was a shock, but also made him into an icon, soldering him to pulp culture history and making him a legacy that lasted decades longer than his career. But an icon of what? A musical one who had thrust indie rock into the mainstream and whose lyrics resonated with those who felt seen and heard by his angst? An unwitting and unwilling fashion icon who inspired countless rebellious outfits and grunge looks, which are coming back today in a big way, and made David valued the importance of good cardigan from a very early age. Hey, you gotta have that one good cardigan made out of cashmere, I'm sure, as well. Above all, a subversive generational icon, as Gen X had lost its prince in 1994. Yes, he definitely was a Gen Xer. This particular aspect fascinated David in contradictions. He'd watch interviews of Kurt disdainfully brushing off the title of voice of a generation and calling out corporate mediatization, telling interviewers that he struggled to reconcile the success of Nirvana with his underground roots. He became an unlucky poster boy, a reluctant figurehead who resented people who claimed to be Nirvana fans but misinterpreted the social and political views he championed. This could be seen in his unshowy social activism, something that David had continued to love about Kurt, and which, for him, may be his and Nirvana's most enduring legacy. There's only so much he can write about it. Conscious of how long he already prattled on, David examples that have marked his vocals opposition to sexism, racism, and sexual assault, as well as support for the queer community. In a liner notes to the 1992's Insecticide, he wrote, "If any of you in any way hate homosexuals, people of different color, or women, please do this one favor for us. Leave us the fuck alone. Don't come to our shows and don't buy our records." Couldn't be clearer. This social activism often gets overlooked and misunderstood in some of the band's songs. For instance, the controversy-stirring Rape Me is an anti-rape song, and Been a Son saw Kurt reflect on the biases he saw against women by adopting the voice of a misogynist father figure. There's even a clip which surfaced online of Kurt stopping mid-gig to call an audience member for groping another. Kurt and the band were also outspoken on homophobia, some could legitimately say ahead of their time. He was publicly proud that Nirvana had played a gay rights benefit concert that was held to oppose Oregon's 1992 ballot Measure 9, which would have directed Oregon schools to teach that homosexuality was abnormal, wrong, unnatural, and perverse. This may not seem like much, but at the time, few rock bands like Nirvana dared to speak out without fearing fan alienation or damaging certain rock image through a loud and proud advocacy of feminism. Nirvana championed the more underground Riot Girl acts, which had not enjoyed the same level of mainstream recognition. Kurt even said he wished he'd just been gay to piss off homophobes. He often wore dresses to protest against homophobia and sexism. "Wearing a dress shows I can be a feminist as I want," he told the LA Times in a jab at the macho undercurrents he loathed in the rock scene, in which he subverted and often satirized. "I'm a heterosexual, big deal, but if I was a homosexual, it wouldn't matter either." He also admitted to spray painting "God is gay," a line that would later pop up in the Nirvana song Stay Away, in his hometown of Aberdeen. God is gay. He also repeatedly stated that he had no time for any form of apathetic behavior, something that had characterized Gen X in the eyes of the older generations. "I'm disgusted by my own and my generation's apathy. I'm disgusted at what we allow to go on, by how spineless, lethargic, guilty we all are not standing up against racism, sexism, and all those other isms that the counterculture has been whining about for years while they sit and enforce the same attitudes every night on their televisions and the magazines. David singled out this quote because it reinforced his continuing belief that apathy is the biggest enemy to progress. I agree. I think empathy is the most important emotion. Fear, anger, hate, happiness, sadness, fuck all of those. Just have empathy to feel those emotions. It's because it reveals that Kurt was maybe not the voice of the generation he didn't wish to be, but was certainly a compassionate and eloquent observer of the times he lived in. And as it turns out, the times we live in now, as he unknowingly anticipated, modern attitudes and started conversations that are still happening today. I mean, there's something sad but also beautiful about music being able to be applied even today, his music being applied today, but also it's sad that it's still applicable. Like we did, hello? I mean, the same thing happened when I think Trump got elected. People were like, oh, there's going to be such good music is going to be made, and then everyone was like, that music, that like the Bush music era, that music is still applicable to the Trump era. It doesn't like it doesn't. You don't need to make new music. Just listen to the same stuff from before. It's still applicable. Those things are still happening. The prison system is still messed up, famously from System of a Down. 30 years after his death, choose to dig out some archive interviews and many of his quotes about gender stereotypes and gendered clothing, for example, and couldn't sound more contemporary. On the 30th anniversary of his death, David didn't choose to put Kurt Cobain on a pedestal. He was a flawed individual, like we all are in our unique ways. Nor does he endorse some of his lifestyle choices, judge his actions to end his life, or fail to recognize the deeply problematic exploration of his mental health through the years. However, David does choose to remember what the rocker means, how he struck to his integrity, mocking trends and shattering oppressive consensus about what a person should be. He proned certain crucial things that David loves about his young nephew's generation to embrace. Understand the times without bending the mainstream. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and mindful of others. Wear what you want to wear as long as it makes you happy, and above all, be your authentic self on your own terms. No one succeeds every time, but it's advice that empowers. If chasing cool is important to you, you're an idiot, Kurt said in a 1991 interview. You're fucking dumb. I agree. I mean, everyone, when you're a teenager, chasing the cool is normal. That's the kind of the normal thing you go through as a teenager, trying to chase the cool. But when you're an adult, trying to seem cool to your other fellow adults, pretty lame. Blunt words, but liberating one, as being a teenager is hard, and it was easier for David reading his quotes in the teen years. And he thanks him for that. And he thanks his neighbor, whose bedroom grotto... He lives in the bedroom grotto of his neighbor? Wow. And a commemorated artist who inspired his generation. Still speaks to the current one and will hopefully resonate with future ones. When David's nephew is old enough, maybe 9 like he was, he hopes he gets to introduce his nephew to Nirvana. I'll even pass on my Nevermind poster, in hopes he might too appreciate Kurt and Nirvana's inedible mark on music and society, and that his generation will have an easier time of it. All apologies if not. All apologies. Kurt Cobain, born 20th of February 1967, died the 5th of April 1994. Rest in peace. There you go. There's your quite long, but I think worth it. Look, David's look on, I agree with a lot of these points. Usually I don't agree with all of David's points, but a lot of these points are quite good and a quite honorable honor to Kurt Cobain's life. So, there you go.
All right, I got not a lot to add.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Nothing to add there.
Okay, and what else happened on April 5th? In 1588, on this day, English philosopher and political theorist Thomas Hobbes, best known for his publications on individual security and social contract, was born. Also born on this day, well, in 1614, this is not a birth, sorry. In 1614, Powhatan Indian Pocahontas married Virginia planter and colonial official John Rolfe. In 1621, the Mayflower departed for England after having deposited 102 pilgrims at what became the American colony of Plymouth. And where did the pilgrims come from?
I don't know.
You probably know this. Where did the pilgrims come from?
The Netherlands.
That's right.
In England.
A lot of people think they came from England. They went to the Netherlands first for religious freedom.
Yeah, they ran away from
there.
England and Germany to the Netherlands, and then the Netherlands was like, "Can you please leave?" So then they left the entire continent.
Yeah.
Nobody liked the Puritans.
We
Nobody.
thought there was only 10 of you.
And we based our entire society off of Puritan
of
ideals. What an idiot.
In 1792, on this date, George Washington issued the first presidential veto in U.S. history. The rejected legislation concerned congressional redistricting. So they're already trying to gerrymander old George back in 1792. 1856, American educator and reformer Booker T. Washington was born in Virginia. He was notably the first president and principal developer of the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute, now the Tuskegee University. Very controversial person because he did have a lot of ideas that were not necessarily true. Anyway, how about black people?
Yeah.
1879, Chile declared war on Peru and Bolivia, beginning the War on the Pacific. The dispute, which was about the control of the mineral-laden area of the Atacama Desert, was won by Chile. There you go, you won the desert. 1908, American actress Bette Davis was born. Her raw, unbridled intensity kept her at the top of her profession for 50 years. 1951, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were sentenced to death for espionage in this day. 2 years later, they became the first American civilians executed for that crime. Of course, their crime pales in comparison to what Trump is accused of. It really is kind of sad that anybody follows somebody that's that diabolical. 1984, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar surpassed Wilt Chamberlain as the all-time leading scorer in the National Basketball Association. Of course, LeBron James has since taken that over by playing way more years and taking a lot of three-pointers. So I don't think Kareem had a one three-pointer his entire career. Okay, 1994, I don't think he even took one. 1994,
Really?
American
Wow.
grunge rocker Kurt Cobain, leader of the band Nirvana, died by suicide at the age of 27. In the year 2000, Mori Yoshiro, the Liberal Democratic Party, became the first minister of Japan, replacing Obichi Keizo, who had suffered a stroke earlier in the month and subsequently died. What else will happen on this day? In 2002, American singer Layne Staley of Alice in Chains was found dead from a mixture of heroin and cocaine in his home. It was reported that the 6-foot Staley weighed only 86 pounds when his body was discovered. His body was partially decomposed when he was found. Medical examiners had to identify it by dental records. So It's really sad.
Tragic.
Even sadder than Kurt Cobain's death, because they found Kurt Cobain 3 days later. Layne Staley had probably been waiting for 2 weeks, and nobody cared. So that's really sad.
Well, I don't think nobody cared, just...
Nobody cared to look. He had
Yeah,
alienated all of his friends. He had alienated everybody. That's what drug addicts do, man. They just shut out the world. 2008, American actor Charlton Heston, who possessed a commanding screen presence and was best known for such films as Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments, and Planet of the Apes, died at the age of 84. Of course, Charlton Heston also being known for being the head of the NRA and saying, "Pry this gun from my cold, dead fingers." Well, his cold, dead fingers arrived in 2008.
The cold dead fingers arrived in 2000.
That's when we got to take his gun away.
Oh, God.
Featured
Fuck the
events,
NRA.
1818. Sorry. I don't want to be cruel of the stuff. I don't want to be cruel to the guy who was the star of Planet of the Apes. I don't know. Anyway. Yes, I do. I intend to be cruel to him because he was a heartless bureaucrat as the head of the NRA going, "Guns don't kill people." Sure, you're right. Bullets kill people. That's what he should have said. Chile's independence movement, led by Jose de San Martin and Bernardo O'Higgins, won a decisive victory over Spain in the Battle of Maipu, which left 2,000 Spaniards and 1,000 Chilean patriots dead on this day in 1818. Featured biographies: Colin Powell's birthday today. He was born April 5th, 1937. He died October 18th, 2021, in Bethesda, Maryland. And of course, he died of COVID, which people denied was even a thing, even in 2021. They still denying it was a thing. Those people died of weird stuff that we can't define, but it wasn't COVID.
Yeah, it was something else.
Anyway, so
he died of a fever. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something else. I mean, he wasn't young either. He was 84. So, other biographies today. Robert Small's American politician. We covered him a while back. He was one of the first black congressmen. Robert Small's born this day, 1839. 1908, Betty Davis, we covered that. Gregory Peck's birthday, he was born in 1916. Gregory Peck, American actor. And Pharrell Williams, as you know him as, I guess we just know him as Pharrell, American musician and producer, born in 1973, turning 51. Man, I thought the guy was a lot younger.
Wow.
And what day is it today? What day it is besides National Read a Roadmap Day, which, what's a roadmap? Anyway,
what the hell is that?
I have them.
I used to love doing that. I love looking at maps.
They're great, man. They're great for tracing your path, but when you're lost, GPS. Anyway,
Get
National
my compass
Raisin
out,
and Spice Bar. What's that?
Get my compass out.
Oh, well, compass. People don't use a compass. I know people that just think you follow the needle. They just end up going north.
Really? Oh, wow.
National Raisin and Spice Bar Day. National Raisin and Spice Bar Day. Somebody went to trouble to create that. National Caramel Day. Caramel. National Deep Dish Pizza Day also. That's big in Chicago. It's like having a lasagna pizza. National... Or a pizza lasagna. Let's put it that way. National Nebraska Day, which again is totally arbitrary. They're just doing it on this site just to say they covered every state. That's my theory. It's also First Contact Day. So the day we contact aliens, I guess.
Yeah.
Happens at some
One
point.
day.
Gold
hopefully.
Star Spouses Day. But what's a Gold Star spouse? It means your spouse died in a war.
Oh.
And we know we got wars. So we know we got Gold Star spouses and we got them all over the place. National Flash Drive Day. So National Flash Drive and First Contact Day can go together. You can flash your drive while you're making contact. I don't know what that means, but there you go.
That sounds like a
work
word
it
in a
out.
window.
Go out there and flash your drive and make contact. And honor the Gold Star spouses and go to Nebraska. Although Nebraska is not going to be in the path of totality on Monday. It's adjacent to other states that are.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Right. Those are your stories for today. I'm sorry, what?
I said, is it?
I'm having too much...
Yeah.
Talking over each other again.
It's fine. You can continue.
I'm having too much fun. It's April 5th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
All right, everyone. You have a good Friday. That's why we're having so much fun. It's the weekend. So enjoy your weekend. Don't look at the news because we'll cover it on Monday. So just go out there. Hey, the weather has turned good for me. That's nice. The sun's out all of a sudden. So maybe the weather will turn good for you. We can only hope.
Right on.
And I hope you have a good weekend. We will see you on Mucking Fun Day. And here is your mic drop moment.
Singer of the rock band Nirvana was found dead in his Seattle, Washington home today. Police said Kurt Cobain apparently shot himself, leaving a suicide note behind.
We came off stage and we're about to go on for the encore, and I think the bass player Ted came in and told us just kind of barged in and was emotional and started talking about the reports that they had found Kurt, but they weren't sure if it was him or not. But it was, you know, and we all got very emotional. It was very surreal. We weren't home. We weren't around any people we knew. I guess in a sense, we could all take solace in the fact that, especially Soundgarden, that we were sort of born from this idea that we played kind of dark, moody music, and our identity, which in a sense kind of was a band that created the soundtrack for that weird, that type of weird, awful scenario.
Where were you and how did you find out that Kurt Cobain died?
I was actually in Paris on tour with Soundgarden, doing a tour with Tad opening up, the band Tad, so pretty much all of us knew him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a room with 12 people that were personal friends with him. It wasn't the first person that I was friends with or a fan of that was brilliant that had died young for me. So it was a tragedy though, nonetheless, and one of those things where I don't even know to this day how to deal with it or talk about it. I'm just glad that he was around long enough that people got to know who he was so they can listen to his music.
And do you think dreams and reality are in the same dimension?
Well, you know, I've put a lot of thought into that because I have weird dreams, sometimes extremely vivid dreams. Sometimes I'm not really sure of which is what. But I couldn't really define the multi-dimensions. All I can say is, like, you know, if you're in a dream and you're having that experience, it's as real as when you're not.
But you feel that Layne Staley is in a good place?
I have no idea.
But you said in one of your blogs that you saw him in a dream and you...
I saw him in a dream and it felt like, you know, seeing him there, yeah, that like maybe he's in a good place, but I also felt like, is that, and I don't know if I say it in the blog or not, is that a projection? Is that what I want to see? Or is that, you know, or is that what's really going on? And I've had that experience a lot with different people I know that have died, where they appear in a dream and they're sort of the way that they were maybe at a time when I knew them and they were happy or peaceful or something like that, or more healthy. And I always sort of wake up with the feeling that somehow that's an indication that they are somewhere good, but I don't know.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.